Hands into the Fire, Aaron McCarley. I did not know such fierceness lived within my bones, violence at my fingertips, until you. It came on suddenly. It came on furiously. It came on in public. Doing the most mundane thing, shoe shopping, only we hadn't actually made it that far. Your dad tucked you into his chest, bundled in the newborn blanket as we crossed the parking lot to enter DSW. A car blew through the crosswalk where we were moving side by side. Although the car seemed to move like a bullet, concurrently everything moved in slow motion, including your dad's leg swinging up instinctively, kicking at her vehicle, making contact, and smashing her door mirror. The sound of his kick hitting its mark echoed through my brain, pouring adrenaline into my system. And hers too, the driver, who responded to the attack by slamming on her brakes, launching out of her car and screaming, "What the fuck?" My vision had done a strange split, able to take in multiple frames simultaneously. Somehow I was able to see your dad's body contract, folding up into a smaller version of himself, in shame from his aggression, even though my body had already slingshotted across the crosswalk right up on her face. That is a crosswalk, and that is a child. My words conveyed a rage I had never experienced, a knowing that I would harm this woman if she continued. The standoff hung in the air. A man leaning against the exterior of the shoe store had stopped mid-sentence from his phone call as he witnessed the deadlock. He appeared to be no stranger to conflict, this one captivating his full attention. "You're crazy," she screamed, as she ducked back into her vehicle and sped away to the bystanders. "You go, girl!" I assumed I was a girl in his cheer. Woman to woman, there must be some primal code of baby protection alarms. Intuitively, I perceived that is a child was the showdown disarmament. This was my first memorable clue I was different after your birth, a frame collision of who I thought I was. Frame collision. The collisions I experience when my version of reality is not aligned with another's, and when our paths intersect, the possibility of an explosion can emerge. These tend to happen in the most mundane situations, like the mundanity of sitting in a toddler-sized chair across from your kindergarten teacher, the same teacher I volunteered for several times a week, sorting, filing, and organizing, while observing, taking in data, and not realizing what I was taking in, until I did, during a frame collision, when I sat across from her in a toddler chair at the first teacher-parent conference. When it is story time, the kids sit around me on the rug. She pointed to her chair across the room with a large circular rug surrounding it. Your son's attention wanders off. He's having difficulty focusing. I felt my body tense. My vision seemed to tighten. A frame collision started to descend. She appeared totally unaware of my inner reaction. Maybe she was untrained to see internal words as I do. She was so matter-of-fact as she continued her report. When I notice he's not done his work, I ask him if he didn't understand the directions, and he nods. I ask why he didn't raise his hand when I ask if anyone has questions, and he doesn't have an answer. She didn't know my background as a mental health professional. She didn't know that I knew each of her pieces of data were carefully curated to support her perspective. She didn't know that I knew teachers were trained to spot signs for early intervention. She didn't know that I knew as a teacher she could not use words like "he's on the spectrum" or ADD. She only knew me as your mom, only knew I volunteered as a room parent who coordinated parties or made photocopies, only knew me as the chair of the Reflections Art Competition, only knew me as a member of the Parent-Teacher Association. She didn't know when I was in my psychopathology class in my doctoral program going through each diagnosis, I was aghast. When the curtains were pulled back of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, my brain said, "This is what is behind a mental health diagnosis?" My mind pulled up a memory of my room mom observations of those kids, the ones with a label, the ones her tone became harsh with when she spoke to them. My mind connected it to you, how you freeze or fold up, Your body contracting into a smaller version of you, like your dad when he folded in shame once he realized he created trouble by his reaction. How could I protect you from this? A system that created norms and bell-shaped curves with safety nets to catch outliers from slipping out of the system in the name of help. I used the system to get you that protection, to get the individualized education plan that allowed me to participate in how you would be taught. A plan co-created with the team, the school psychologist, the principal, the counselor, your teacher, and me. But I couldn't help but wonder if other parents knew what I knew, if they knew a new consciousness was on the planet that doesn't fit into the bell-shaped curve, a consciousness that is sensitive and perceptive and gets overwhelmed with the current educational setup. If they knew they could curate their child's unique learning style, how could the school continue to function with a room filled with individualized education plans? How could one teacher, even with a team, support this new consciousness under this system? I guess that's why teachers need therapists too, and a diagnosis so their insurance can compensate them to maintain this normal system.